Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this evening, whether you're in person or online. This evening, the City of Glenarden is here with Urban Edge and Wood Partners. Urban Edge is the owner of Woodmore Town Center, and Wood Partners are the owners of Alta Woodmore. We're also joined by their attorney, Mr. Ed Gibbs, and we will be discussing some proposed plans for traffic mitigation. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started and allow the representatives to introduce themselves after I go through the agenda. So after our purpose and introductions, we will present the proposed solutions. We'll go through the traffic congestion proposed solutions and then go through the safety proposed solutions. After that, we will have an opportunity for community feedback, and then we will summarize the discussion and start to outline next steps. As a reminder, our comments are limited, so in this particular case for this town hall, our comments are going to be limited to 3 minutes. If time allows and there's enough, there's a desire to continue the conversation, we can extend those comments. If you are in the room, you can approach the podium to ask questions. If you are on Zoom, you will raise your virtual hand. We will entertain questions during the community feedback period. So if you have questions, just hold them, please, until we get to that section. Okay? So the purpose of this town hall was really to create an avenue for us to discuss collectively as a community with the key stakeholders at Woodmore Town Center at Glenarden to discuss the security, the safety concerns that we have and the traffic congestion concerns that we have. What we wanted to do was make sure that before we move forward with any solutions that we were hearing from the community on what you thought about the solutions that we're proposing and any additional suggestions you may have on those solutions. We know that this is a serious concern with the safety in particular and the traffic congestion as the space grows with the addition of Alta Woodmore. We are all working together to try to address those solutions proactively. Okay, so now we'll go over to introductions with Mr. Corey Thompson from Urban Edge.
Hi, Corey Thompson. I work at Urban Edge Properties, which, as Councilperson Freed mentioned, we own the retail portion of Woodmore Town Center. I also have on the Zoom joining me John Villapiano. He's one of our senior vice presidents of development, and I work as a vice president of development and also work with our asset management group, really making sure that this property is performing as well as it possibly can.
Thank you. Thank you. Would your colleague like to say anything? Your colleague, of course. Okay. Okay, so we'll go on to Wood Partners, Mr. Scott Zimmerly. I can't see you, Mr. Zimmerly, so if you want to come off of mute.
I was just technical difficulties on mute. I'm Scott Zimmerly. I run development for the Mid-Atlantic for Wood Partners. And we're the contract purchasers of Alta Woodmore, the apartment community that you all know about. And happy to be here and answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zimmerly. And the City of Glenarden is really serving in this role as a broker between the owners of the space at Alta Woodmore and Woodmore Town Center and representing the constituents of the City of Glenarden. I don't think I introduced myself before, but I will let you know I am Councilwoman Erica Fareed. I am the council member representing Ward 3, which is where Woodmore Town Center and Alta Woodmore are located. And we also have our city manager, Beverly Habita, who wants to stay in the audience, so she can come up here. If you haven't met Ms. Habita, she is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the city as our chief administrative officer. She is involved in everything that we're doing here in the city. So if you have questions and you need to call up to the city, feel free to ask for her or myself regarding this particular discussion. But you can also reach out to Ms. Habita for any other thing related to the city.
Welcome. My extension is 712. It's 773-2100. I'm at extension 712. Thanks.
Thank you. So traffic congestion at Woodmore Town Center at Glenarden is a double-edged sword, right? It's a good thing in that it means that there's a lot of energy around the space. There's a lot of traffic because people are shopping there, which is what we want to have. If you didn't know, the retail space at Woodmore Town Center does provide tax revenue for the city of Glenarden, so we want that space to be vibrant and thriving. And so that's why it's also important for us to make sure that we're addressing the congestion and the safety issues, because we do not want the traffic to become a challenge for people where they don't want to come shop in this space. And we also don't want people to be worried about their safety as they're shopping and enjoying this space. Okay, so the first traffic congestion proposal that is being put forward is the restriping of lanes on St. Joseph's Drive. This was a study that was commissioned by Wood Partners, who again are the owners of Alta Woodmore. They've put some thought into addressing some of the community concerns around what traffic that development will bring and how best to allow access so that even the residents that will live at Alta Woodmore will have a better way to get home and a better quality of life. So I'll just pause there and allow Mr. Zimmerly. Mr. Zimmerly, I know you were saying you were having some
Excuse me. I am
you'll do it?
going
Okay.
to handle these comments.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I didn't get a chance to introduce myself
Oh, sorry,
yet.
so sorry.
My name is Edward Gibbs. I am an attorney. My offices are here in Largo, directly across 202 from Woodmore Town Center. And I am a land use attorney. The name of my law firm is Gibbs and Haller. And I have been fortunate to handle all of the land use entitlements that have been filed for Woodmore Town Center at Glenarden since it was dirt. So I have a file on every case that's been submitted. I presently represent Urban Edge Properties. I'm very pleased to be able to do that. They own probably 99% of the commercial component of Woodmore Town Center at Glenarden. And I also have for many years had the pleasure to represent Wood Partners. They have done at least 5 different multifamily projects that they have built in Prince George's County. And so they are the applicant in the detailed site plan for Alta Woodmore. They do not own the land that is Alta Woodmore. That land is a very small parcel, a very small percentage of Woodmore Town Center, which the original co-owner and co-developer Prudential Insurance retained when they sold 99% of the commercial component to Urban Edge. So the owner of that property that formed the subject matter of the Alta Woodmore detailed site plan is Prudential, in partnership with Wood Partners, who processed the detailed site plan application. And in that regard, when we were processing that detailed site plan, we looked at the turning movement backup that you see for cars coming in on St. Joseph's Drive from 202, wanting to turn left on Ruby Lockhart Boulevard. Now, Prince George's County has worked with the State Highway Administration, the Department of Public Works for Prince George's County, to come to a solution to synchronize the left turn on 202 onto St. Joseph's Drive, to have that turning movement synchronized so that it is green at the same time that there's a green at the intersection of St. Joseph's and Ruby Lockhart. That provides relief in and of itself. But Wood Partners looked at the situation as it exists at the intersection of St. Joseph's Drive and Ruby Lockhart Boulevard. And they commissioned their traffic consultant, Lenhart Traffic Consulting, and they came to the conclusion that one of the difficulties that you encounter at that intersection is that even though there is a double left turn from St. Joseph's onto Ruby Lockhart, you can't get to that double left until after you pass the median break that allows cars to turn left to go into St. Joseph's Church. So what Lenhart Traffic Consulting has come up with is a restriping plan that allows cars to queue for the double left earlier, farther back on St. Joseph's Drive. And it is the opinion and bear in mind, there are no empirical percentages that can be allocated at this point in time as to how much faster it's going to be, how much less time you're going to wait, how many more cars can go through. We're going to have to see that after the restriping is in place. But Lenhart Traffic Consulting, who has a representative on the Zoom this evening, one of their traffic engineers, have come to the conclusion that this will provide immediate and measurable benefits to how that left turn movement functions. So, and that was something that Wood Partners had proffered, not as part of their case, but as something that they wanted to do to improve the situation, and which they will do when they move forward with the development of their site. That must be approved by Prince George's County Department of Public Works and DPI, because that is a county road and you can't restripe things without their permission. We have already sent that to them and they are reviewing it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Gibbs. So again, this is a great example of the developer hearing the community and taking proactive steps to address our concerns. Okay, so let me check in. Okay, going on to the next proposal. And just on this second page, what we've done here is started to try to define some goals. The percentages that you see here are just representative. We will need to refine these percentages once we get a baseline of what's happening now, so that we can have a meaningful metric for us to determine whether or not the level of improvement we're looking to achieve has been achieved. Just a pause there. That's important because there's no one solution that's going to address the entire situation. So we want to look at how much each solution that we're putting forward is contributing towards the remediation of our concerns. And again, we'll need to first have a baseline that we start with, and then have a way to measure once those improvements are in place, so that we can see what the contribution is. For those of you online, you should be able to access this presentation from the city's website if you have not already, in case you wanted to look into some more detail. I'm trying to keep us on track, so I'm moving a little faster. This next proposal is changing the traffic signs at the intersection of Ruby Lockhart and St. Joseph's Drive. So when you're coming out of Woodmore Town Center and making a right turn onto St. Joseph's Drive, both that far right lane and the center lane are right turn only lanes. The only lane that allows you to go across St. Joseph's into the development where Chase and 7-Eleven is the far left lane. So the issue with these two lanes is that the only lane that you can make a right on red from is the far right lane. So what's happening is that although cars in the middle lane can make a right turn, they want to turn on red, and so they're merging into that far right lane, creating a bottleneck. What we want to do is have more of a flow, so that, one, there's no opportunity for cars to be colliding, or reduced opportunity for cars to be colliding as they're trying to merge, but also to allow that traffic to flow a little bit more freely. This space here where this dot is, that space often has no cars in it because people have started to merge to try and get over in that right lane. On the opposite side, going into Woodmore Town Center, the only lane that allows you to go straight across Ruby Lockhart is that middle lane. The far right lane is a right turn only, and the left lane is a left turn only. So when we think about traffic congestion, we want to have multiple exits and entrances if possible, or create more access points for people. And so what we're proposing is that both the far right and the center lane remain right turn only lanes, but that both of them are allowed to turn right on red. In addition, we're proposing that going across the way, so with traffic coming into Woodmore Town Center, that lane that is currently a right turn only becomes a straight and a right turn, so that cars going straight have more opportunity. What tends to happen is, because that middle lane is the only lane that allows you to go straight, cars are going really fast to try to catch the light, and that's an opportunity for, collision. So if there were more access points, we believe that would help reduce the traffic. So we, would love to get your opinion on that during the comment period. This proposal is something that the city is proposing, and it would be subject to approval by the county. And so before we go to the county, we wanted to get everyone's feedback on what that is. And that's something that goes to the county because these are county streets. The city of Glenarden does not have the authority to change the signs ourselves. Okay, and again, here are some metrics that we want to look at, making sure that the exit queue is shorter. And these percentages, again, are just kind of estimates. We'll get more refinement as we get actual baseline metrics to start with. Okay, and the third is actually not a proposal, it's an actual solution, because Costco has already gotten approval for this. If you have a car that takes gas, then if you've gone to Costco, that line can get pretty backed up on Ruby Lockhart. And so what Costco has done is gotten approval from the county to add additional pumps to just allow more cars to fuel at one time. So now 8 additional cars will be able to fuel at all times, and we're anticipating that this will reduce congestion. Mr. Gibbs, did you have anything to add on that?
Yes, I'll be happy to respond to that. I was contacted by Costco and asked to assist them in that regard. They were keenly aware of the queuing problems that exist out onto 5 Lees Road for cars trying to get into the fueling area, and they came to the conclusion that if they could simply add 4 additional pump islands, you could fuel 8 more cars at the same time. Mm-hmm. And they expect this will provide a substantial benefit to relieve the queuing out there. It's a very popular fueling point. I use it myself, and so that was just last week approved by Park and Planning, and Costco will be moving forward with that very quickly. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbs. I'm just going to throw this out there. It would be great if there was a charging station somewhere over at Costco for those of us who have electric cars.
We're working on that.
Okay, thank you.
We are working on that. We'll let you know when we've got that in the timeline. I can give you a date for it.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, so moving on to traffic safety. Obviously, vehicular and pedestrian safety is of utmost importance to us, just from a humanity perspective. So we want to make sure that we're doing what we can to mitigate the speeding that's happening through the town center and the challenges that we have at the roundabouts. Roundabouts present a lot of challenges because people sometimes don't know how to use them. They don't realize that they need to yield to people, to other cars and to pedestrians who are trying to cross the street. So we have some ideas for how we could mitigate that concern, and we'll just kind of go into that. But I do want to be transparent about some of the challenges that we have, because I know that citizens have been raising comments to us for many years, myself included, which was the actual reason why I decided to run for council. We are challenged by the fact that the streets that should belong to the city of Glenarden and the streets that should belong to the Woodmore Town Center HOA are not yet in our possession because D.R. Horton, the developer, has not fulfilled their obligations yet. We have been working through this with the county for quite some time to try to address this issue so that we can take a broader perspective on the traffic safety issues. In the meantime, we don't want to not do anything, so what we're going to prioritize are the streets that are county-owned, because those are the ones that we can actually take action on at this point. And those two main streets are Ruby Lockhart and Campus Way North. So this first proposal, and this is not in any sort of order of priority, this is actually a mitigation effort that we would look to do last after other mitigation efforts have been implemented. But this is adding rubble strips at the entrances to the traffic circles. So they're kind of like bumps on the road that slow you down, slow drivers down. And the idea around these rubble strips is that it would kind of force a yield for the cars approaching the circle. That does provide maintenance concerns, so that's why one of the things that we want to look at last, because it's an infrastructure improvement, but one that would need to be maintained, and there would be a cost associated with doing that. Did you want to talk a bit about that?
Do you want to go through all three?
Okay, we can go through all three and then come back. The next is something that is fairly easy to do, or let me say it's easy in the sense of what equipment is required and how it's placed. It's utilizing radar machines along Ruby Lockhart and Campus Way North. These could be temporary machines that can be moved, or they could be installations, and that is something that we would want to discuss as well with the Woodmore Town Center HOA, because Ruby Lockhart and Campus Way are bordering people's homes. And so I'm not sure what a radar machine might look like for people if they want that, in front of their homes, or what all the different options are, but we definitely want to discuss that and get the community's feedback on that before we approach the county. Third is utilizing flashing signs at the traffic circles for the pedestrian crossing. So right now there's a sign there that indicates that it's a pedestrian crossing, but what these flashing signs would do would be sort of real time and responsive to what's actually happening. So if there is a pedestrian in the crosswalk, it would be flashing to alert drivers, you need to slow down. This is particularly of interest on Campus Way, where there is a blind spot coming up towards Woodmore Town Center, so it's a hill. So cars driving up that hill might not see the pedestrians fast enough for them to respond. And so we want to make sure that we're keeping people safe, particularly because there's a park at that intersection that children will be getting to in the summer and in the warmer months, and we want to make sure that we're keeping the community as safe as possible. Also, across the park going towards Nordstrom, having signals that way for, similar reasons. We would love for the city of Glenarden to be considered a walkable city, reducing carbon emissions and just allowing people to improve their health by being able to walk. And so making sure that they're able to cross the street safely is uber important. Okay. You wanna?
Yeah, so again, Corey Thompson from Urban Edge. I just want to say thank you to the council and Councilperson Fareed, Councilperson Woods, who met with us shortly after the last community meeting that we had. And we brainstormed a lot of solutions, and the Glenarden City Council has really brought actionable, measurable solutions to this very difficult problem, and we're happy to jump in and help. I think what we heard at the last meeting is that we've seen pretty significant increases in traffic. And when we hear that, the first thing we think of, as a company that operates shopping centers, our first focus is on safety, because as that traffic increases, you can see there be some safety concerns going down the road. So I just want to thank the council for giving us this opportunity and partnering with us, and we want to help us in any way that we can. So the first thing that we did after that meeting was we researched our existing governance documents to just make sure that there were no impediments to us implementing any of the 3 solutions that Councilperson Fareed just went through. We don't think that there are, and so we think that all of these are actionable. We want to get feedback tonight, but I do want to caution that, as mentioned before, we will need to work with the county, with DPI on this before we can implement any of these. But we're excited to partner in any way that we can. So I went back and looked at similar projects that we have completed at Urban Edge Properties, and one that I thought was really similar was out of Paramus, New Jersey. We had a very similar issue where we had a very successful shopping center, but there was a residential road right behind it where there was a lot of traffic. And we started out there with signage and also worked with the local police department to help with speed enforcement. But very similar to solution number 3 that was reviewed, we have flashing lights with this speed limit sign on it. We also actually use sort of part of solution number 2, where there are radars that measure the speed of oncoming cars. And so it'll be a flashing light, and then it'll say the speed limit, and then right below that, it'll say your speed is. So you've probably seen those signs. They often have them in school zones to really help people, remind them to slow down. We found at this property that we were able to achieve 76% speed compliance, which essentially means that, of the traffic that was going down that road, every car was no more than 5 miles above the posted speed limit, which was a significant decrease. So, from my look back on what we've done in the past, we think that these signage solutions can be the most effective. As mentioned, the rumble strips can also be effective. They do pose some maintenance issues, specifically during winter weather. So snow plows can damage those at times or a snow plow may not be willing to go as low there. So there can be some issues during winter weather where if you can't remove the snow as carefully, it may be a little more treacherous. I don't think that's a major issue here. And so it's just one thing to consider on the rumble strip solution. And then on the radar, the radar speed monitoring, I would say that, the most effective thing you can do to reduce speed is to have a patrol car out there. And probably the second most effective thing you can do is to have, a camera that's issuing automated tickets. I personally would like to avoid that if at all possible, because I think it's sort of the nuclear option. But that's one thing that is proven to be extremely effective. And the one thing I'd like to also mention is that this is not a one-size-fits-all, right? We can easily implement signage in a relatively quick order, assuming we have collaboration with the county. If that is not effective enough, we can go to another solution, be it rumble strips or radar speed cameras. But we do want to emphasize that, we're here to find a solution and make sure that our shoppers are safe, that the community is safe, that people who are walking through these neighborhoods are safe.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, and I think what you just described, and I know Paramus Shopping Center very well, being from New York, that the combination of efforts is what we really need. And I think it's probably going to be a little bit of trial and error, right? Figuring out what's the simplest thing for us to do, the least cost effective, the most cost effective, least cost implementation, and trying those, and again kind of seeing where we are to figure out if we need to pull the lever a little bit more and try another solution. But we wanted to at least bring these to the community to get feedback on all of them. People may say, I absolutely hate the idea of a speed camera that's going to give me a ticket, and it's an option. And what we can also do is look at, Bev, can we look at the metrics? Do we have metrics? We had a speed camera here along Glenarden Parkway that used to give tickets. So I don't know, what the metrics are on that in terms of how effective it was at reducing a speed. But that's kind of more of a straightaway than in, along Ruby Lockhart, which has circles relatively close to each other, and even Campus Way North, it's equivalent to about a block. So I don't know how effective even radar is in those situations, but again, we want to just come with different solutions and hear from the community. So if there are no more comments, I will turn it over to the community for their feedback. Okay. Is there anyone in the room who has feedback or a question? Don't all run up to the podium. Okay.
Councilmember Jones, do you want to come here and use the mic?
Did you? Oh, okay. I'm gonna stop sharing so that I can see who might be raising their hand online. Okay, I see Ms. Gray, Ms. Cynthia Gray. Can you please come off mute?
Hi, good evening, Councilwoman Fareed, and thank you everyone for allowing this meeting to occur and the collaboration. I apologize if you hear any background noise. So I heard the call and I support everything that Councilwoman Fareed has presented, and I support it, and I really hope that we can implement some of these safety concerns, especially for the pedestrians. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gray. Are there any other comments? Council Clerk, am I missing any hands?
I don't see any other hands raised at the moment.
Okay. Well, that was a great brief meeting. So thank you everyone for joining. Again, this presentation is on the city's website, so you can pull it down and digest it a little bit more. If you have any questions, feel free to send those to myself or really any council member or the city manager, and we will incorporate those comments. If there's comments or questions that require feedback from our partners, we will reach out and get responses on those. I do want to talk through next steps. Over the next few weeks, we'll be looking at how we want to prioritize these solutions. So, for example, what we were just talking about, if we want signage to be our #1 priority, what will that look like? And we'll put together a plan and work with the county. I've already been in contact with our county council member, who's the county council chair, Jolene Ivy. So we'll be sharing this information with her so that we can kind of work through a plan and try to get these things implemented with a staggered plan. We will follow up with what the progress is. If there are other points in which we need to engage the community for feedback in this sort of forum, we will do that as well. But again, just remember, the most important thing is that we want to do this as a collaborative effort. We want the city and our partners all around, both the retail space, the developers, as well as the citizens, and making sure that we're implementing solutions that are really meeting the needs of the community. So with that, we'll close out and everyone can enjoy the rest of their evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you. It was good to be here and participate. Thank you for your